my strong opinions, I would say, are very flexible. Like I'm allowing room for conversation. Who's painting Aboriginal people and who's like monopolizing the industry and who is profiting off of black culture? You know, we don't have treaties, so the conversation of stolen wealth is a very real conversation that's involved. There's moments where like I allow myself to be greedy and allow myself to soak it in because I do like to have the mentality that high tides raise all ships, right? You know, like the people around me need to celebrate just as much as me. Otherwise, I'm a loner just in the room by myself going, yeah, I did this. I would rather that all the people in that room get to cheer and get to prosper as well. There's this fear mongering that is applied to creatives or people with platforms to not be authentic and not express their state or to not be emotional. And that fear mongering is very limiting because you're not able to be yourself. You're not able to speak from the heart. You're not able to be authentic.
Before we get into this episode, I just want to thank you for being here. I started this podcast to spark conversations that inspire, creatively, personally, and everything in between. So if you'd like to support that mission, the best way is to hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you're watching or listening to this. That'll help other creative minds discover us and also ensures that you won't miss any of the incredible guests that we've got coming up. Because when this passion is shared, it grows exponentially. So thank you, and now let's get stuck into it. There's no need to have a rule unless there had been a reason to have caused that rule to be put in place. And looking at the way that things are going in society and how things are shifting so quickly, that everything they're doing is like just so reactive, but by the time they implement a rule or a law to safeguard this, it's already changed, right? Like a simple one that you'd be able to understand is like copyright infringement. Yeah. So we have this same copyright infringement laws that have been put in place from, I don't know, 150 years. I'm just making up a number, but a long time ago.
6,000 years ago.
Yeah. Like cavemen.
Yeah.
And now we have all this digital artwork, whether it be visual artwork, movies, music, all that. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to implement the same laws in this new system and it just doesn't work. But all it does is just perpetuate, I guess, like new ways of doing things. So in any kind of community, you need to have people that are disobedient. And that's the idea. I guess that's the point. Like it's important to have that.
To speak to your point, you could probably compare it to like the old commercials we saw in the 90s being like, you wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a house, like talking about music and piracy, right? But like, look how much that has actually exposed the music industry entirely just by people coming out with like Napster and LimeWire back in the day, being able to release and pirate people's albums and music. So like, you know, normally musicians would make X amount, agencies would make X amount. And then obviously after LimeWire and Napster and like piracy was so accessible, it changed the way that people needed to not only stream music but like have different outputs, and it changed the load that release has. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and it combats it too. It makes room for things like Spotify and Tidal and iTunes and stuff to release music on a digital platform.
But also, even more than that, I think it changes the whole industry, not just the releasing of the music or not just the way we consume it, right? And what I mean by that is that once music became available on digital, and we were just downloading it, like just stealing it, right? Stealing it.
I was.
Oh, of course. Who wasn't?
A LimeWire was my fucking...
Napster. Napster was...
Well, yeah?
Yeah.
Man, the amount of computers I broke at home with LimeWire.
Oh,
just
man.
Downloading bugs and
it was,
stuff.
you know, the dial-up internet, so it will take maybe 2 hours, 3 hours to download.
Get off the phone.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
So then from there was the birth of Spotify, right? And then we were like, okay, cool. We're willing to shell out a couple of bucks if it's just going to be convenient. Not a problem. So what we're paying for now is convenience, essentially. But then Spotify will then find a way to almost monopolize the way we consume music. And then once they have that stranglehold, you're looking at how musicians aren't really getting their paid dues.
Nah, yeah.
So then what do they have to do? Their way of making money isn't through releases. They're going to have to find other ways. Touring, right? So like just get amongst it. If you're touring, then all that money is going straight into your pocket. Well, not all the money.
No, yeah, most.
Not all the money, but definitely a larger percentage than what you would be getting from digital streams, which is peanuts.
Yeah, and then you got to make money from like merch and outsource different ways. You could be more creative with your output.
Yeah, but that should always be the way anyway, right? Like just to try to diversify what you're offering. And even like with you as an artist, like you're not just doing the one thing. You got a whole bunch of different streams.
Different revenues, yeah.
Different revenues. And I think that like if you're a creative person, that's what you should always be trying to look at. How do you spread your creativity, and not to the point where you're diluting it, but it just gives you opportunities to express yourself in different ways. Because you don't want to just be stuck painting canvases.
Nah.
Or a wall, right?
Nah.
There are other things, other ways for you to express it.
I want to be at Bunnings painting kids' faces.
Oh, what would you do?
Oh, I used to do that actually. I was thinking about that. And then I was like, I actually did that. I'd paint like a lot of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
A lot of Hulk.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I've derailed the conversation already, so I talk about this. No, but I know what you mean though. And you find art, you see creatives just actually trying to be creative and push that envelope a little bit more. Like comparatively when lockdowns and that happened and the pandemic was throwing us all around, like I no longer had the luxury of being a street artist for a little bit. Like sure, there was the occasional job here, there was the occasional job there. I got to be an essential worker, which was fun. But like when all that shit happened, like I panicked and just thought to myself, like, I need to make money now. I need to pay rent now. What am I going to do? And I had some connections with people that were on Twitch, and I was watching Twitch at the time. So I started drawing on Twitch and started making money on Twitch. So I started making like a couple $100 every time I streamed, which was crazy. Like I did
just donations.
Yeah, donations. It was quite perverted. It was real cool. I felt like an OnlyFans model, just being like, want me to show my boobs? Like
that's a good way of doing it, though. Why not?
It kind of was, yeah. I did show my boobs a few occasions. I got some tips, you know. I remember one night there was like, it said there was like no people on my stream, and then like one person popped on at like 11 o'clock at night, and here I am thinking like, I have no other way of making money. I'm not gonna like, you know, brown nose this person to try and achieve a tip, because that wasn't my goal as much as like paying rent was. But I was just like, I didn't want to brown nose for it. Do you know what I mean? I was like, if it happens, it happens. If I make no money, I make no money, whatever. And then this is one of the first times I got tips, so this is kind of the story of it. And I was just drawing away, and then they were like, "Oh, this is really cool. I really enjoyed your process. Thanks for like letting me watch for the last like hour or so." I'm like, "That's all right, no worries. Thanks for streaming. Oh, sorry, thanks for like watching." And they go, "Here's a tip," and they sent me like a $200 tip. I was like, "Oh shit, what the hell?" And then I got bombarded with like a couple other people ending their streams, and they like sent all their people. I had like 1,000 people on that stream at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
It's like busking.
It felt like busking. That's what I mean. It felt like perverted, like I was performing for it. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's not a bad way of doing it. Are people still using Twitch now? Because now that lockdown is over and people are kind of like out to.
Yeah, I don't know. I checked out after a little bit. I didn't really like the idea of performing like that.
Does it have to be performing? Can't you just be?
There's a level of performance to it. There's a level of performance in everything, really.
I guess once you stick a camera,
yeah,
you kind of like. Do you feel as though, because you know you're doing your own podcast as well? Do you feel as though that once there is a camera there, once there's a mic in front of you, that you're a different person?
I did it first.
Yeah,
I did it first. When I get to lock eyes with your beautiful brown eyes, I get to catch on and I get to lock in. But no, I don't necessarily feel like there's a difference. I used to in the beginning.
Yeah, same.
I feel now that when I record my conversations, it kind of just is that. It's just recording the conversation. It's not like I have to perform for the camera.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like if I had a bother with the camera, I'd be inauthentic and I would be kind of making up dumb little quirks, being like, like, look at this. But no, like I record my conversations naturally with my podcast for like the idea of timestamps. So like you're kind of recording your moment, you're recording your state of mind, your state of play, your state of being in the world, like the way you talk, what you talk about, like how you're feeling. Like this will live on YouTube for however long and every other streaming platform. So I know that when my daughter's like 10 years old, she can go, "How was Dad feeling back in 2025?" Like right before everything happened. Like all the world got chaotic, and like World War III kicked off, or like my sisters are like fucking 10 years old. You know what I mean? Like how could we how could we cement this moment in time? And the easiest way to do it is just like record organic conversations. Like I said, it was nerve wracking in the beginning, just having a mic and a camera on me. But like after a while, it just kind of feels like it's just always there.
Yeah, I wonder like with how the world is. When I say the world, I mean like just like the digital social media world. When you're putting something down and recording it and then sharing it out there, it's time stamped, right?
Yeah.
But it's there forever. And then with it being there forever, how much do people allow you as a human being to change? Because, you know, they say like 10 years ago, this is what you said. And it's like, well, yeah, no, I've kind of like changed in that 10 years and I have hold a different opinion.
What's that say about someone if they're holding you account to 10 years, like the person you were 10 years ago? Just means they're probably not willing to evolve themselves. Like, am I different from the person that I was when I started doing graffiti when I was 14? Fuck yeah, it's 20 years ago, 21 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing, right? Like I'm exactly the same. I liked the idea of doing this. And I hadn't given it much thought until I recorded episode 50 with Stace, my wife. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And I think it was either in that episode or outside of that, we were talking about how it was like a record for our boys to look over. And for exactly the same thing as you, it's like, okay, so they're going to get a glimpse into what was in, you know, dad's mind.
How crazy is that?
It's wild.
Imagine if we had that for our parents. Like we look back and go like, what were my parents like when I was 2?
Yeah.
Like when I was 3, like you can see photos, you can use your imagination being like, oh yeah, my mum looks happy. Great. But what was she saying? What did she sound like?
What does she think? What does she feel? What was her opinion on things? Yeah, for sure. And the whole point for me is to be able to record the growth and the process. Yeah. And this is one of the things because like for those that will be checking this out, this is the second time we're jumping on because the first time didn't work out. My fault. Technical difficulties, technical problems.
It happens. It just means we're way more comfortable now. Having a real organic chat.
I was comfortable then as well.
Were you?
Well, was I not? You didn't think so?
No, I'm fucking with you. You were.
But with that one, then it just gave me an opportunity for me just to reflect, right? And I do a lot of that. I use the opportunity for these podcasts just to like speaking with the guest. What is it that they have, whether it be an opinion, a skill, or whatever it may be, which is just a nugget of wisdom,
a lens.
That's a great way of putting it. How is it that they're viewing the world that is different from mine, and how can I implement that into my worldview,
or even how you can juxtapose it?
Yeah. And I found that for me, I've spent the last, I want to say maybe like 4 or 5 years, probably. Let's just go last 3 years, really being a sponge. Where
nobody calls me a sponge.
Like, let's just say throughout my 20s and for the most part in my 30s, I was someone that was like really strongly opinionated.
Yeah.
And was almost to a fault where like I don't even know whether or not that the opinions I held were mine or they were just there to be the contrary to whoever it was that I was sitting across from.
Yeah.
And there will be, admittedly, there'll be times when I wouldn't even know. Like, am I arguing just for the sake of arguing, or do I strongly hold this opinion? But then I found that, like, in the last few years, I've just been listening and trying to take things in to the point now where I don't even know if I hold strong opinions. And because I don't hold strong opinions, I feel as though that there's just so much that's missing, like a sense of humor. My sense of humor is now different, and I don't like that. And I didn't really notice that until I was like, you know, reflecting on the stuff that we were talking about. So then I could bring it into this conversation to not necessarily rehash it, but just as a reflection. And like Jess is someone that has strong opinions, but not just in a self-righteous way, but also like heavily community focused. And that's just something that I've never had. And at the moment, I feel as though that it's important for people to have strong opinions.
Mm.
Like that idea of strong opinions held loosely, right? So be willing to shift and change, but lean into something, have something to stand up for. And I just don't think I have that. And I think that's a bit of a problem.
I think we all do. It's just a matter of like, you know, having that grip on it again. Like you said, like strong opinions held loosely. Like I know you have strong opinions. The amount of times that like, even when we're having coffee, the very first time we hung out, like our first date, very romantic, by the way. You know, there's like the clash and there's like the amalgamation, there's the blending, and you definitely have strong opinions. I feel like it like grows and changes and adapts to obviously who you speak to and what environment you're in and everything. Like, I know that I have strong opinions, but I've also got strong experiences as well. Like my lens is a lot different to a lot of other people's. Like I obviously spent my formative years doing graffiti. I spent a good portion of my career in design and advertising. I now paint murals and exhibit in galleries and do art consultations, and I do a whole vast different other things as well, like NFTs and podcasting. So like your opinion grows and your lens changes, like however your environment is, you know?
Yeah.
I think we could riff on that for 1,000 years, but yeah, I appreciate you being able to acknowledge that I have a strong community focused opinion.
Yeah, because it's not just like I guess your social disobedience or resistance, conviction that you have isn't necessarily just a self-righteous one, right? Like it's not all about entitlement, or it's not about it's not coming. I don't feel as though it's coming from like an egotistical place. I think that a lot of your foundation is on community.
I definitely have an ego. Don't get me wrong. I have a big head, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then maybe that's what I was missing. Then maybe it is just an ego.
No. There's moments where like I allow myself to be greedy and allow myself to soak it in, because I do like to have the mentality that high tides raise all ships, right? You know, like the people around me need to celebrate just as much as me. Otherwise, I'm a loner just in the room by myself going, yeah, I did this. I got this for this, or like I was able to do that. I would rather that all the people in that room get to cheer and get to prosper as well. So like, not to say that I have a team, but there are people around me always that are always changing, that always come with me, always get to celebrate with me. And like, you know, yourself is like, you're in my sphere now as well. We all get to celebrate the same.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I was trying to get across, is that there is that, it is community, and however you want to define it, because you know you'll have your different, and it's not necessarily saying that this one community is what you belong to and this is it, right? So
no,
depends on where you are.
Yeah, completely.
That social component of it, and you know, it depends on the people that are surrounding you at that given time, and the context of it is going to be different.
I have lots of communities. I had lots of spheres. When I was in high school, I didn't have any core group. Like that's what differed me from a lot of other people in high school. Not to say that I was popular by any means necessary. I was not the popular kid, but I had a lot of friends in different pockets. So like, I would spend my morning with the skaties, and like I couldn't skateboard, but like there was that aspect. I wish I could though. Maybe I would be like Lil Wayne and just like learn to skateboard as a 50-year-old or something. Like that'd be cool.
Nah, man. Could you imagine just falling over a skateboard?
No, I break my back.
It'll end your life.
Yeah, my back's already broken. Coming here with a limp. You know, like I'd hang out with the skaties in the morning. I'd spend my morning in like classes with people people of different backgrounds. Like obviously a class is a class. You know, you get put in with different classes, but like different people. But you know, at recess, I'd go hang out with the queer band kids that like would tick all my creative boxes and get to like gel with them about being outcast and just not fitting in. Like went to an all boys school, all Catholic boys school, who like
you would love that.
Fucking hated that. I got kicked out of religion class so many times for asking questions about like plagiarism in the Bible and all that shit. Like, hey, why is this similar to Egyptian mythology? Oh, get out. Okay. And so like at lunchtime, I'd hang out with my graph mates who like would learn to draw and like whatever, like go up in the art room and just fuck around, and some would do graphs, some would do illustrations, some would do like painting of realism and stuff, and like we'll just gel. And then, you know, after school I would go teach classes with my mum for Aboriginal kids across the road. So like I've got community in different pockets, and I feel like that's carried through to my career too. Like I care about lots of different peoples and lots of different sections.
Yeah. And I guess that when you're in that sort of situation, when you do have strong ties with people in all these different communities and you know, different social groups, there's always going to be people that you're just not going to gel with.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I think that's probably the thing that I'm getting at is that, and like looking at the landscape of the way that social media works as well, is that we try to find validation from a community, a social media community that we built that we actually don't even know who these people are. And we're seeking their approval when we shouldn't really give a shit about what they think, because we don't know them, right?
No.
A lot of people, that is, like, you've got, I don't know how many followers, you don't know everyone. You've only would have engaged with a handful of them directly.
Yeah.
Yet,
less.
Yeah. So like, I guess that when we have this social media sphere, this new layer of community, we're trying to cater to that desire more than actual community that we're in.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the intention too. The intention is to like speak with a megaphone and just be heard by the mass, but a lot of the time you're actually just shouting into the void.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And what does that do to community? What does that do to benefit or discourage? So,
and then also like the people on social media, you're not gonna align 100% with everyone. There's always going to be some sort of disagreement. It's just how you want to like, how you appreciate that and how you kind of navigate that. Because like even my wife, the person who I'm the closest to, we don't agree on everything. There's actually a lot that we would disagree on. But that's kind of the point, right? Like, is for us is to expand ourselves.
Yeah,
as well, right? Just to be able to see things through a different lens. But the way that social media seems to be engineered is that you're not allowed to do that, right? It's almost rewarding people to cater to the largest audience. And
the algorithm.
And in order to cater to the largest audience, you've got to be vanilla. Vanilla. I don't like the term vanilla because I
personally love vanilla.
I love vanilla.
Vanilla's my favorite flavor.
Yeah. So as an analogy, that's not a good one. Beige. Then beige is pretty good still, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, fluorescent beige.
Fluorescent beige.
My favorite color. Yeah. I think that's the thing as well. Like, how can you really have an online community when everything's so quickly changing? And I feel like it's just the best way to do it is just completely be authentic and be yourself, unapologetically yourself. You know, because if you're catering and pandering to an audience, then you get looked at like a brown noser or like whatever. And you know, I come from a background in street art and graffiti, so like pandering to people has never really been something I've on my radar. Do you know what I mean? I've seen it. I've seen radar. I've seen pandering in gallery culture. I've seen pandering in street art culture, and not for me.
Yeah, and I feel like that is where not so much the pandering, but then where I'm sitting, being a person that's trying to learn, and I guess like I just felt as though that where I was in my mid-30s just wasn't the way. Like it wasn't getting me to where I felt like I needed to be, but I didn't know where I needed to be. By changing the approach and what I felt that like something had to give. So now it's a matter of me just trying to find that authenticity and that conviction, but not having to
alter who you actually are or go outside your own beliefs.
Yeah, because I think that there has been a degree of like altering who I was because I felt as though that I had to.
Yeah.
But now it's a matter of like, how do I set this foundation back and be able to just do shit without fear of the repercussions?
Yeah. And fear-mongering is a very real thing in the arts industry too, you know, to not speak out. And whether it's art industry or media, you know, you can You can be emotionally punished, whether it's either by a community or by yourself, with the concept of fear mongering. You know, to say like, "Oh, don't speak about Palestine. Don't speak about dirty, creepy people in the art industry, or don't speak about racism because the singularity." You know, like there's this fear mongering that is applied to creatives or people with platforms to not be authentic and not express their state, or to not be emotional. And that fear mongering is very limiting, because you're not able to be yourself. You're not able to speak from the heart. You're not able to be authentic.
And it's just so strange that it's so rife in the creative sphere, because it's like such an integral part to be able to speak out against all the things that are just outside of that creativity. Like the whole idea is that you don't necessarily need to be right in your opinion, but you need to have a strong opinion. I think that's it. I think that is a critical component that everyone should have, but most of all, people that qualify themselves as creative people, especially as artists. I think it's very important to have strong opinions.
I think strong opinion might be giving it a label that you and I could see as a different. Like, I think the better way to look at it could be a well-formed opinion, or like an experienced opinion, or something that comes from your authenticity or your lens, right? So like my strong opinions, I would say, are very flexible. Like I'm allowing myself to kind of be allowing room for conversation, rather than just going, here is a statement. I feel like a statement would be a strong opinion. If you have your strong opinion going like there is no rebuttal allowed, right? Whereas I think like an experienced or like a well-formed opinion has room for growth, has room for flexibility, has room for conversation and engagement.
Yeah, those two they are two different things. Having a strong opinion is one thing, and having a well-formed opinion.
Yeah.
So I guess like semantics matter. So having a well-formed strong opinion is the way it should be.
Yeah.
I think everyone needs to have that.
I think it's very important for people to be able to express themselves regardless. I think at its core, regardless if you have an opinion or not, I think people need to be able to express themselves for sure. And I think that's very limiting in industries, industries that profit off of artists, and artists come into music, artists come into creative, and, the design industry, and obviously the arts industry as well.
But then that expression has to kind of align with a social narrative as well, right? Otherwise, when you're saying that they should be allowed to express themselves, that expression is allowed so long as it fits within the flow of where the social conversations are going. I don't think our society is robust enough to engage in conversations with someone that holds a strong, equally opposite opinion.
Yeah, I think it's few and far between. I don't really see much engagement from people with strong opinions. Like, it's definitely just people shouting into the void and with no hope for rebuttal.
They don't want it. I don't think they want it to begin with. And I don't think they want the conversation.
No.
I don't think that they want to hear opposing opinions either.
They don't want exchange.
No. And I think that it's a lot easier for creatives to pander and to work up the chain of command, or the pecking order, or to fit within this realm, this sphere that has been deemed where society, that where we are going culturally. If you don't fit into this, then you're going to be an outcast, which I think is important, to be the outcast. And to what you spoke about the last time, is to build your own mountain. You don't have to, you don't have to try to climb someone else's. You can just be your own.
You can climb your own Everest.
Yeah. And I don't think that there is enough of that. And I think that is something that I've been missing. And I think that is something that other people need to be given more attention to as well.
I think this platform is a good example of your mountain.
Yeah, by accident, I guess. So without consciously thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think the difference between your mountain and other people's mountains as well, to lean on the trope, is to obviously, I think the difference is that your mountain allows other people to celebrate theirs.
Okay.
You're not saying climb my mountain and wave my flag at the top of the mountain because this is the thing that's going to get you to where you want to go, right? I think your mountain is really unique in the way that it stands out because it allows other people to wave their own flag.
Yeah.
You know, like I can climb up this mountain and go, I'm up here with Wayne, like I'm up here celebrating with everyone, like we're all doing our thing. Also, come check out my mountain over there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've experienced people in industry that need people that thrive or people climbing up their mountain and only allow people to wave their flag, and like
A lot of yes people.
a lot of yes people, a lot of brown nosing, and they gatekeep the people who climb their mountain too. They go like, oh, let's all celebrate these people and like let's profit off this, and it's just like it gets ugly, and the pandering comes back into that conversation too. Like how much is that person climbing that mountain really pandering to that person at the top?
Yeah.
You know?
This podcast came from not wanting that. And this is actually a big part of it because like when I was working full time, like I've flip-flopped between full-time and freelance for my whole entire career. So around about 3 years on, 3 years off, 3 years on, 3 years off kind of thing. And a lot of that was because when I was working full-time, I didn't feel as though I felt like I was, to use that analogy, climbing someone else's mountain, right? Like I didn't necessarily agree or align with the value systems of that company. I didn't necessarily feel as though that my opinions mattered. So that was the pandering. It was like, well, you're giving me a paycheck and all I got to do is click buttons for this paycheck, to the point where it was just no longer serving anymore.
Yeah.
So then that's when it will go back to freelance. And then freelance is like, I didn't have that strong enough conviction, I guess. And then it was more like, shit, I didn't need money. So I go back to full time until it got to the point where I just drew a line in the sand saying that I kind of need to figure it out. And that's the birth of all this. Like I need to be able to create something that I'm proud of that represents me, but not just me, but me in this subset of creativity and to learn. And now I think it's a matter of now and then trying to solidify that and to have some conviction into what this is. It's not, I don't think it's enough for me just to be bringing people on and saying that, tell me about what it is that you do. I think that there has to be something built from all the scaffolding that I've accumulated.
Yeah, and you do the homework as well by reaching out to people and meeting them beforehand, and whether or not it's good enough chat to like an organic enough chat or there's something of interest for sure. That's what I respected too, and I've been watching the podcast before I came on. I was like, yeah, this feels like a good platform to me for me to be able to air myself freely and express myself organically, but also, if I'm being honest, to be challenged. Like our first date, I felt challenged, and I was like, cool, this is going to be healthy. It's good conversation.
That wasn't intentional, so maybe I still have that. Maybe I have that.
That's what I was saying before. Yeah, I got to give you your flowers when you need them.
Yeah, thanks, man. What was it? What was it that was like? I know that like it was a great conversation. Like we chatted for hours.
Yeah,
and I don't think it was about anything in particular. I think it was just more from the different walks of life and the lens that we have
completely
on on the social.
It was a good blend. It was a good like you said, it wasn't anything in particular. I'm sure there was a few little topics here and there that we got a bit spicy on and allowed ourselves to be challenging each other. But that's just the blending, and that's what I knew felt right for me to be able to like express myself, but also be challenged in a really healthy conversational way. Because like I said, if I had a strong opinion, then I wouldn't be able to be like flexible or like have conversations about it. So like and like back to your point as well, like what the paycheck does to someone, what that retainer does to someone, you can imagine what that does in the arts industry, and more specifically in like the gallery or street art industry, what that does to someone who knows they're getting a paycheck, whether that's through an art collector or whether that's through an industry or an agency, like, or even as simple as not saying something to annoy the wrong person or something. That fear mongering mixed with the pandering, and so you can imagine what that steady paycheck or that steady income or that steady support does to someone who in an industry would naturally thrive. Like that's what, like your drive is what gets you out the door every day, gets you like hunting and hungry for that paycheck and for that growth and for that, I don't know, for that experience, for everything involved, right? But imagine what that does for someone who would normally think like a hungry wolf, for example, going like, I'm going to get that food. Imagine what that does to someone. Go like, hey, hungry wolf, here is dinner every night. You no longer have to go out and hunt, or like you no longer have to be in that pack. You no longer have to be community focused, or like your true integral self come and be my lapdog and I'll feed you scraps every night.
Yeah.
Imagine what that does. Like, you know, just to spell that, you can obviously put that in the form of like, if the art collector was that person feeding the wolf and the wolf was like an artist, for example, and you go like, here is this steady support, here's this steady paycheck, here is like guaranteed sales because of your pandering or like you not saying something to like rock the boat. Here's the slops every night.
It dulls the work.
It dulls the work, yeah.
Yeah.
It also changes the way the wolves look at that other.
It's true.
Other dog.
Yeah.
Or the house dog, the domesticated dog now.
The domesticated dog.
Obviously, I'm speaking in like euphemisms and generalities, but
we get it.
I think the message is there, and like, not to say that I'm the perfect example, because I'm fucking not. Like, I make mistakes all the time, but like, I also don't think that I'm that hungry wolf out there every day. Like, I get the occasional slops. Like, I get the occasional like, what's over there? What's on the other side of the fence? Like, I have to eat sometimes, and it's that flexibility, that instability, which keeps me hungry for that next meal too. So I know that if that food's not going to always be there at the door, I know that I have the ability to go back out there and fucking hunt with everyone.
Yeah, there's a balancing act, right? Because
has to be.
You recognize yourself as a creative person, but also not just as a creative person where you have ideas and opinions, but you also have a skill set. And that skill set doesn't necessarily have to be an expression of those ideas and opinions. That skill set could just be a skill set. You could just be a trade.
Yeah.
Right. So it's balancing out and recognizing what it is that you need to satiate at that point, right? Like if you want to go create something for yourself, go out and create something for yourself. You have that freedom to do that. But you could also pick up that brush and apply it to somebody that just needs a service. And then you decide for yourself, how much do you want to compromise?
Yeah, where you draw that line in the sand for yourself.
Yeah, because, it's always best to work alongside people that align with you, that share the same values. Yeah. Because then it just doesn't feel like a service.
Yeah.
Right? Like it feels like you're doing something of substance or something that has significance and meaning.
Yeah. I mean, like, comparing it to me probably a little bit more closely as a better case study. Like, I don't work full time. Like, I work for myself. Like, my work is inconsistent, just like every other contractor. I could be the most integral person and only paint my own stuff with no commissions and just say like, here's my free form art with no other outside input. But I've just done a canvas for someone, for a food, what's it called, a grocery chain, that allowed me to kind of push my own envelope a little bit more and go, oh, actually, yeah, I haven't drawn a cockatoo in a while. I don't mind drawing a cockatoo for $8,000. That's pretty chill. No worries. I know I can make a cockatoo. That's fine. But the difference, which I'm more drawing the line in the sand, is like, how much of that pandering, how much of that like domestication.
Yeah.
All words are made up. Like, let's just make up another one if it's not a real word already. How much do you allow yourself to be? I mean, how much do you allow yourself to lose yourself? To quote the great white Eminem. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's lots of little parallels we can draw for sure, but like, me kind of allowing myself to work with someone allows me to go, all right, well, actually, I haven't drawn like this in a while, or I haven't put this into a different. It's allowing someone else to look through my lens in order to grow mine, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To widen my lens is probably a better analogy than grow mine. They're taking a grower lens.
Yeah, I guess like whichever way you go about it, it's going to influence you one way or another, right? Like if you're going to be doing something like picking up a contract job like that, you'd want it to have some kind of service to you. It doesn't even have to be much. It doesn't have to be much. As long as you just don't feel your integrity is moving backwards. And I could be putting too much emphasis on this as well, because like I feel as though that like I've spent too many years doing shit not for me, or not moving in a direction that I wanted to go, because I didn't know what my direction was. So I kind of just meandered and just let my career dictate itself till it got to a point where I'm like, fuck, I don't like where this is going. It's not feeding the soul. And for some people, it doesn't matter. For me, it does, right? For me, it does. For some people, it's like, fucking whatever, man.
Fully.
Yeah.
Yeah, fully.
And I've had people as well, just like within the family circle, like, dude, just get a job. I'm like, yeah, but I know that if I get this job, I know exactly where it's going to end up. I'm going to be back in the same spot in even less than 3 years now, because now I'm cognizant of the challenges that I have with that type of, full-time role. I'm like, let's say I can't do it. I can do it if it came down to it, but I don't want to do it.
No.
And it's just not going to be, it's not for me.
No, and it's soul crushing. It's consuming. Like you give your energy to someone who doesn't need it or deserve it, and at some point, when you're in a full-time job, or if you're under the thumb of someone else, like you go, how much energy am I giving? Am I making this person rich? Am I a spoke on the wheel? Am I replaceable? The answer is yeah to all of that.
You are completely.
Yeah. And so like you give yourself agency. Like, so I only went, like I've been doing graph for like 21 years, right? But I got my first commission in 2012. So for timeline's sake, I started graph in 2004. Got my first commission in 2012 for Nokia. Shit the bed with it. I tell this story all the time. Just shit the bed with it. It's fine. Moved on. It's chill. I'll work with Nokia down the track and go full circle. And I worked every other job until then. Like I didn't need to go out and get commission jobs. Like I was doing crime. I was like stealing things like for cash. And I'm not going to say where so I don't incriminate myself. But like, I was getting by, like living really good just for looting and stuff. Anyway, moving forward, I love thinking about it. I was like, what was it? What did I steal yesterday? And yeah, I got my first commission in 2012, but like I was working advertising jobs between 2012. I was going to uni. I was doing design. I started getting into advertising and like graphic design and all that stuff. So I started submitting my creativity to someone else. Like towards the end of it, in 2017, late 2017, I had like worked my way up to be senior designer in some firms. Like I went to award school, which is like a really awesome.
No, I know award school.
Award school is fucking mad.
Yeah.
Every art director should do award school. I don't trust art directors that don't do award school, if I'm completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's like a little bit classist just to say that, but fuck, like that thing just opened up mental doors.
JESWRI
True.
on the spot.
Yeah. Award school is fucking crazy. So I did that, and like it started shifting my creativity, and I started realizing, going like, I was in an agency in Sydney, and I was creative director, but like what's it called, like a contract creative director, because their creative director went on holiday for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I won that agency $3 million in the small 3 months I was there, with like Kiss FM, bunch of other things, like creating really fucking cool ideas. And then the creative director came back, and then my job was gone.
Yeah. They
didn't have room for an art director, so they were just like a temporary creative director. And I was like, oh, I really enjoyed like that pressure, that like thrive, and that like being in that hot seat, but also being in the temporary hot seat too. I actually really enjoyed working project to project. And towards the end of that, I got offered a $200,000 job to be a design director in a firm in Surrey Hills. And I was weighing it up so hard, like the end of 2017, being like, all right, I can go get this $200,000 guaranteed job, at least for 5 years, like at least to put myself in that hot seat, or I can just take a fucking gamble on myself and go do street art, because I was getting some street art jobs, like whilst I was doing that temp job. They weren't big paying jobs, like they were just $2,000 here and there. Like I started pretty cheap. My most expensive mural at that time was like $3,500. So I was like, yeah, $3,500, I'm living. That was sweet. And then, you know, like fast forward only 3 years into the future, like I was earning $200,000 a year just from street art and stuff. And I was like, oh, that climb, like, you know, it was a gradual climb, like 80 grand, 120 grand, 2 grand. And I was like, oh shit, like that's just me putting myself out there authentically, working with clients and just doing my thing, like taking this like drive from graph and crime and then taking that experience from graphic design and art directing and creative directing, moving into like street art, moving to Melbourne. I only moved to Melbourne in like 2018.
Yeah.
So like I haven't even been here long. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I haven't been doing this long. Like I've just kind of figured out how to be authentic and just be myself and bring my entire experience, my entire lens, my entire drive into what I do. Like I literally haven't been doing this that long. Like I've been doing graph long, but I haven't been doing professional street art very long. I went full time in 2017 from that thing. And I moved to Melbourne in 2018 just off that. I was like, first year, great. Sydney's a bit cutthroat. I like Melbourne. I like going on holiday there. Seems to be the mecca, seems to be the Hollywood of street art or art. Everyone gives a shit. Not a lot of hills. I don't have to don't have to get out of breath. But yeah, and I just like felt like I want to move to the place I vacate to.
Yeah.
And yeah, so since 2018, I obviously moved to Melbourne, did like a full first year of just like jumping between studios. I started in like Black Lake Studios in Collingwood. Then moved to Versus Studios with GT and that, which was great. I loved being around so many people like Dodgy Paper and like Drew Funk and Russ Kid and that. It was real cool to be around like good people. And then from there I was like, not that I needed to compete with any other studios, but I was like, I didn't really feel like I wanted to interview with other artists. I didn't really want to like say like, hey, I want to be in your network. I want to be in this. I was like, I'm just going to start my own network and see what happens. I just need a studio. I needed a studio really badly because Versus was closing and I was like, I just need a studio. And so I went and found one and I was like, there's enough space here for more people. So I started renting out the extra space that I had. And then me and my wife were like, this makes sense to like maybe profit off this as well. Like let's maybe open a gallery just as a trial, like a pop-up one. If anyone wants to rent it, we rent it. And that was in 2019. And then obviously, COVID hit 1 month after opening. Timing. I'm like, real cool. I've just signed a 3-year contract for this like lease. And so we had to just make it up. I was doing Twitch. We were doing like pop-up shows. We started doing markets and workshops. We got really, really creative about how we needed to use the space. We didn't charge people for the studios that we were renting out. We were just like, let's just fucking do it. I found out how to get like government wage, like turn myself into a company. I got $10,000 every fortnight. Like I needed to do it. So I just needed to get creative. And I turned myself into essential business, like all these little things. And then Honeybones just started, Honeybones is the name of the studio. And then we started just turning a little bit more profitable. And we're like, there's actually room for this. Like people need affordable studios. They don't want to have to pay like $2,000 every month for a shoebox. Let's give people something worth it. So
it's not small either. Honeybones is not a small space.
No, it's not. It's a 350 square meter warehouse in Brunswick that we've got 8 studios with probably about 10 to 12 artists. So some people split. Really cool. Everything's really cheap. And the gallery, like we've had in the 5 years we've had Honeybones, we've had just about hit 90 shows.
Oh, geez.
So the math is there. It's about one every 2 to 3 weeks.
Man. But like one of the things about everything that you've just said, this timeline.
Oh yeah, sorry. I don't think I took a breath actually.
That's all right.
I was like, ba 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 ba.
But what connects all that is action and just getting shit done. And I think that that's also another thing that I feel as though that I've been missing. And I think that a lot of people need just to take more action rather than like having strong well-informed opinions
Yep.
is well and good. But if you're not going to be doing anything about it, what's the point in what's the point in any of that?
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for people to take action, because that's the journey and that's the course of trying to figure out whether or not your strong opinions is something that you should be letting go as well. Like, you'd be learning along the way. And that is something that I think just definitely with creative people is just to let go of necessarily doing something right or wrong.
Yeah.
And just doing.
Yeah.
There is no right or wrong necessarily.
Yeah.
You just have to throw yourself into it and then kind of just like meander and pivot along the way. Like, if you were taking that job that was going to be well paying, who knows, man, you still could have been happy doing that.
Yeah.
You don't know, right?
And I could have been creatively fulfilled as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just not the way you went. But you've made a decision to go another way, and you didn't just rest on that decision. You knew that you had to take action, and you probably have to take more action, because now you banked on yourself. Whereas you could just rock up to, that cushy job, paycheck would be coming in on the regular, the jobs would be coming in on the regular. That's someone else's responsibility. Some account manager is the one that's sourcing the jobs and giving you the brief, which would be sweet if you really think about it. Maybe I should go back to full-time work.
Me too. Me too. That $200,000 sounds pretty crazy right now.
Yeah, just go see what creative directors are paying these days.
Yeah, just jump on LinkedIn.
Maybe I should.
compare LinkedIn to Grindr. Just a bunch of hungry, horny old white men, just like after you.
It's pretty gross, man.
After you.
I can't. Yeah, I find LinkedIn. I find it really uncomfortable.
I don't like LinkedIn like that.
No, and I think, and I guess with all social media, it's all bullshit, right? It's all a front.
Yeah.
But I feel as though that at least with the other forms of social media, we're all open and honest about how much bullshit it is. Where LinkedIn, I don't think that they have accepted the fact that everything that they put up there is bullshit, and I think that they feel authentic in their bullshit.
It's such bullshit.
It's complete.
Like, man, I remember writing this post being like, "Fuck yeah, new piece in Surrey Hills." Like, that's my LinkedIn profile. Like, that was like a little post. I got told that coming from Adland, being like, post on LinkedIn every day. Like, be in the thing. I'm like, okay, well, fuck yeah, new wall in Surrey Hills. And I got told off by like people in my sphere at that time. They were like, oh, don't do that. You got to like put more effort into like your posts and like, don't be so negative. Or like, I was like, I wasn't being negative. I said, fuck yeah, new wall in Surrey Hills. They're like, don't swear on this thing. I was like,
I'm swearing.
I was like, dude, I'm going to be the only one swearing and writing all in caps.
Because what, other people that are on LinkedIn don't swear in real life? And that's what I mean.
I'd rather swear than write this fucking balloon boy, bubble boy concept around why it's important to think about UX UI strategies on a Monday morning. Like, nah, dude, I'm not going to read a paragraph over something you can write in like 3 or 4 words. Like, UX UI is great.
Yeah, and then it's just copy paste ChatGPT.
Yeah, but even before that, like, it was the whole like puffing up something that just didn't need to be puffed up.
Yeah, actually, that's
You know
true.
what I
That's
mean?
what it's for. That's
Yeah,
what LinkedIn is for.
It felt weird. I was just like, this sucks. Like, and then you realize that everyone on LinkedIn is just like literally just doing that, and they're just like trying to get you connections and like it's like old school Facebook being like, can we be friends? Like, I don't know you. Like, I literally deflect everyone. I was like, I don't know you. I've never seen you in my life. Like, yeah, all right, I'll approve though.
Let's connect.
Maybe it'll link me to a job. But like, I used to get good work off LinkedIn, just like street art work. It's pretty chill.
I think that needs to be established. Like, it actually is a place that you go to for work.
Yeah.
But outside of the money side of things, if there was no money involved, no one would be on LinkedIn, right?
No.
Maybe that could be said for all social media. If there was no money involved.
Well, I say the reason I don't want to get off Instagram is because Instagram is my main source of like audience, my main money maker. Like, I make not that I make money off Instagram.
Not directly, but I get you.
Yeah.
I
Like,
get you.
yeah, I find people off Instagram and stuff that give me work, but
A public profile is like not even important, but it is absolutely essential and necessary.
yeah,
More so for like the next generation that's coming up as well. The ones that have been born into the digital era.
oh my God.
Born into social media, where there is real life and then there's digital life. And it's the one and the same, man, because they recognize the profile that they build in that sphere, in that universe, is just as important and just as real to them as this is.
Yeah. And everything in that little circle is like, is their world too.
Yeah.
You know, like whether it's like someone being bullied or someone, it's just like that little sphere is that little world. Like everyone really enlarges how big social media is, but really it's just this like, it's just a doom scroll.
It is, and it's kind of like designed that way. And I think that one of the things that works in our benefit is that we've existed before social media.
Yeah.
So we're able to really contrast the difference between real life and digital world. So it's not as tightly integrated. It definitely is integrated.
Yeah.
Because for us, it's still really important to have a social media presence. But when someone was to say some shit on social media, we can just be like, psh, and then just leave it.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever, man.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the next generation, like that is just the same as me just saying, hey, fuck you in real life.
Yeah.
But you never would. You wouldn't just go up to a stranger. I don't know, unless you have gone up to a stranger and told them what you really think about them.
I do it fairly regularly, to be honest.
On the occasion, yeah.
Yeah, there's a few people.
Just pick up a random person.
Not random, no.
Oh, no, I mean, it has to be random.
Oh, it has to be random?
Has to be random. Because that's how it's done on social media.
Yeah, true. I do a lot of trolling for like on Drake and like on a lot of like that whole beef and like and Trump and stuff. Like I like trolling people like that and all the MAGA people. I love like leaving dumb comments too and like being a keyboard warrior. It's the best.
You're part of the problem.
I am part of the problem, but I'm also no, I'm definitely part of the problem.
No, but you know what I mean? Like we can separate it and we can be like, whatever, man.
Completely, like, yeah. And that's someone's emotional maturity, being able to go, are they saying fuck you to me, or are they saying fuck you to what I'm doing? Or are they just saying fuck you to be funny? Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me, that was a really important thing that we were discussing the last time about like not attacking the person, but the action.
Yeah.
And trying to call people out for incorrect behavior rather than a personality trait.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a pretty important distinguishing factor as well. We hold certain values and we have certain values, and then that is then conveyed in the way we do things. But by like just coming at someone for who you perceive they are, especially on the social media front, you could have gotten completely wrong. But actions don't lie, right? Like what you did is what you did, and by calling that out gives them the opportunity to reflect back on what it is they did and what their intention was. Because you don't really know what the intention is behind what someone did, but you can definitely call them out on what it is, on the course of action that they...
Yeah, for sure. A good example of that, not naming names or locations or places, there was a particular street art festival that was on maybe this year, and the curator and director or whatever fuck they are, decided to not find new walls, but rather paint over the existing ones. And so I was like, just on one of the little comments, being my little keyboard warrior self, I was like, oh, they can't be bothered looking for new walls, so they remove what's already existing, like so much for the culture. And that took off. That was like, got crazy support from all the artists. And I was just like, I'm just speaking my mind. I'm just kind of speaking for the community as well. Like if that was my wall that got painted over, I'd be trashing it, but I wasn't. So I was more than happy to speak for the people who probably weren't willing to say that themselves. And that got support from the paint companies, like my comment and like my reach out, my like my calling out of their what's the right word? Laziness. Me calling that out actually got a great level of support from the art community, and it changes the way that maybe that happens next time, or like maybe they decide to go look for more walls next time, or because like I've painted street art festivals before that have my work removed within the year or on the year to the date, and I had a really gross feeling about it, and I knew that they could have looked for more walls because it's a big city.
What's the general consensus with how long a piece should be? Let's say if it's a commission piece or is for a festival. Yeah. What would you say for you personally would be acceptable amount of time to keep a piece up? Because it can't be permanent. You can't expect it to be
No,
permanent.
it can't be permanent. But that's the aging itself. I think the aging of the piece you need to let it age itself. That's the impermanency of why we do it, right?
Okay.
So like when I paint walls, I know that.
You mean from a narrative point of view?
Yeah.
A commentary point of view?
Oh no, not so much that. More so like if I paint a piece and the community decides, with the graph community, the non-graph community, for lack of a better word, the audience or whatever, they just feel it doesn't sit right or it doesn't belong or whatever, and people start tagging over it, people start thrashing it, people stop taking care of it. That's the aging of the wall. That's the impermanence of the wall.
Yeah.
Where there is money made from festivals and going like, oh, we're just going to churn and burn these walls. These canvases are on rotation. Imagine if you painted a beautiful canvas for someone and they go, hey, great work. This canvas is really cool. It's sitting in my house over here. I actually don't like it. I might get someone else to paint over. You go like, why would I give you that canvas? Like, that's a gift from me to you. It's a gift from me to the community. So to answer your question, like at minimum, I think 12 months. Like that's a year. But if you're curating something like that, or if you're like actually have a hand and you're making money off of it, and you're making money to look for new canvases, I would suggest that you do that. I would suggest that you look for more canvases and then try and find more ways to celebrate street art and more ways to go, this is a street art destination and not just like burning walls. Look, I think minimum 12 months. I think most artists are happy if something lasts for 12 months, but people paint it with the intention that it will last beyond 5 years. If I'm completely honest, most street artists want their pieces lasting more than 5 years.
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. Like, sure, the paycheck is great. I mean, for street art festivals, they're not great at all. They kind of cap around $5,000, and for $30,000 walls most times. So there's a full week of labor, a week of time. Like, a lot of things go into this. And it's more than just the paycheck. I would say, yeah, most artists would be okay if things lasted 3 to 5 years. But I paint with the intention that it lasts as long as the community lets it last. That's my personal.
So there's that social contract that you're okay.
Yeah, I like to think of myself, and I always have, as someone who has the ability to be the mouthpiece for people that aren't. Not to say that I'm the voice of the voiceless or anything like that or anything close to that, but I know that there are artists. It's a fact. There are artists in this industry that are actually quite uncomfortable with confrontation.
Yeah, for sure. But it's not just artists, man. I think it's just people in general.
For sure. And if I can be the mouthpiece to kind of air grievances for, as you said, for actions rather than people, I'd call that shit out any day. I'd want my work lasting for as long as it can, not for as long as someone wants it to.
Yeah.
And like I said, when the idea was to find more walls to create a destination, like you're creating a festival, you want to create a destination.
Yeah, that could just be like
portfolio. You want more things to look at, not just like come and see what's new. Like, that sounds like a zoo.
When you have artists, and when you say that artists, like the expectation, spoken or not, is 3 to 5 years, and maybe that's just wishful thinking.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Versus the concept of a festival where there's different expectations or different objectives.
Yeah.
Then you throw money into the equation.
Yeah.
Then that changes things up again, right?
Always.
So now you're playing with, there are so many different opinions involved, so many different, it's just a combination of things that have to be leveled out.
Yeah.
So where you would speak from would be from the point of view of the artist.
Yep.
And I don't know whether or not it's not disregarded. Of course it's not, because it's, these are festivals.
Yep.
But in the case of a festival, I think there's just different things that need to be weighed out.
There's also a brief with funding that person would receive.
Yeah. Okay.
In order to like establish this. So like, for example, if it's okay, let's find a better example. If it's like small town street art festival, right? The idea is that small town will be the destination for street art moving forward. The same way as if you create a website, you go like, here's the destination to find all of the work, my portfolio. Here's the work that changes the scope of this small town, or like it creates a destination, as I've said. So if the brief towards that person is to curate or to direct or to manage the project, right? If there's part of the brief and there is money exchanged to find new walls to create this place as a destination, to establish this place as a destination, then you would assume, even from further than the artist's point, from like if you're in the curator chair or if you're in the artist chair or if you're in the art director chair, the managing or producer chair, you would assume that would be object number one, find new canvases. They're not that hard to find. Like, it's a conversation. Just go, hey, this festival's been here for a long time. Like, can we find new walls? If the answer is no, like, tell the audience that the answer is no. But at the same time, the first thing that people see, especially from an artist's perspective, is videos or photos of someone painting over your piece with censoring or buffing, just like, hey, let's start fresh. No artist wants to see their work getting painted over. That for me was, I'm obviously speaking to it, but like that for me is always a sign of disrespect. Is if you show someone painting over your work. That it's from graph, it's from street art, it's from gallery art. Like I said, imagine if you saw a video of someone painting over your art, you go, oh, I'd rather you just didn't show me.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
But look, I think at its core, I think what I'm kind of getting at is that there's the ability to have confrontational bone in your body to be able to speak to actions over people. And as I'm learning in my PhD research is that there may or may not be an outcome that you can come to. There may or may not be something to achieve, or it's more about just documenting it as it exists in the moment, and how that is how that can be studied, how that can be collected, how that can be documented, I guess, is the actions rather than like the people. So you go like the actions of the actions of this industry lead towards artists feeling this way, or the actions of this person makes artists feel this way. So as much as I feel controversial when I do things like this, or when I feel like I'm poking the bear or like rocking the boat or whatever, I'm also just trying to look out for the industry, really, because I would want to go to a street art festival that takes care of artists like that. I would want to feel supported in an industry where I don't feel like artists are just churning and burning, or like artists are just to be profited off, or culture is to be profited off as well. Like something we spoke about last time was culture being profited off. And, you know, whether I call out people or whether I call out the actions, I think they both derive at different destinations. So if I call out a person, which I have in the past, I've found through experience that doesn't sit well with the community, rather than calling out the actions. So when I call out the actions, I actually have to have an informed opinion rather than a strong opinion. So if I have an informed opinion, say like, here is my experience, here's the way I want people to be treated, here's the way that I want the state of the industry to feel like, or what's the state of the industry right now? Like, how can I document that right now? I think the easy thing to do is like to document the actions rather than document the people.
Yeah, because actions is ultimately the thing that moves the needle.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah,
from a cultural paradigm, where culture goes is entirely 100% dependent on the actions that we take, not about the opinions that we form, right? It's about, if you do this, how is it going to be accepted by the community at large?
Yep.
If it's going to be well received, then it's going to gather momentum and it's going to start rolling in that direction.
Yeah.
If you just think and feel a certain way but don't do anything about it, it's just in the ether. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, yeah. You're going with the flow.
Well, you're essentially going with the flow, or you're angry about where the flow is going. And then if you're not going to do anything about it, it doesn't matter if you're angry about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So no, I think that you're right. Like, and when you are voicing your opinion, I think that you have an understanding that it is your opinion.
Yeah.
when people, well, firstly, I don't know whether or not people have the integrity or the backbone to necessarily express their opinion, or maybe they don't even necessarily have to have an opinion on certain things. But there's this, in one particular component, you could be, the opinions shared on that one thing are being seen and viewed in so many different ways, right? So to your point, I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong way, but the conversation just needs to be had to see which way this is going to be moving, right? Because when you speak on behalf of artists, I think more than anything, you speak on behalf of yourself. There'll be some that will align, and then there'll be those that don't. They're free to then express their opinion on it. But what I'm getting at is that on any one topic, there's so much nuance in that by offering or by contributing to the pool of knowledge, it just kind of helps and see where it goes. Every little thing is so multi-dimensional, and there's so many facets and so many ways of approaching it that it's great to be able to express your opinion on that, but there are just so many different takes on that one thing. Like, have you seen that that image, for example, if there was like a number 6 drawn here, right? Like you're seeing a number 6, but I'm seeing a number 9. It's the same thing, but from the perspective that we're
69.
But from the perspective that we're taking, it's a different thing.
For sure.
So I guess that's just more it. Like,
well, yeah, and I mean, to obviously lean on the trope is that there are obviously 2 sides to every coin. Like, I understand that for sure, and I think that is allowing. When I speak to a cause or when I speak to an issue, I feel like I'm offering that other side of the coin. Man, to say that I don't want to see the other side of the coin would be wrong. Like, it would show the kind of character that I am. So, I'm all, and like I said at the beginning, I'm always open to allowing my opinion to be shared and to be conversed and to be flexible as well. Like, who would I be as an artist if I wasn't allowed to be adaptive? So yeah, when I speak to things, I mean, I have hope that and intention. So it's not like I'm just kind of like going like, hey, that's fucked, don't do that. I'm also just going like, can we be treated better, like as a culture, as a subculture, as like an industry? Like, artists have been profited off for so long that like now I think that industry is potentially ruined art. Like the conversation of content being the death of art is a very real conversation that we could explore. But
yeah, actually, that's a whole other thing. And what that can be linked into is like, like we know that Melbourne is recognized for the street art. But then once you have that title and that recognition globally, then it puts on a different layer of how it should be curated and how it should be treated. Because once upon a time, it was something that just happened organically.
Yeah, how can you bottle lightning?
Well, they're trying, right? So now you have these institutions and these councils in place that put themselves in the position to curate it and to determine where it goes in the direction of the aesthetic and the vibe or the energy, if you will, of what it's meant to represent.
So they're gatekeeping.
Yeah. And they are the people that probably know the least about it.
Fuck yeah, they do.
As well. Or well, okay, so
you're not wrong. That's a very fair, wholesome, factual statement.
Yeah, and not necessarily know the least about it, but are seeing it through a different lens, right? A different lens to what got it to that place and to begin with.
Yeah.
So now that they have just, when I say they, I don't know who they are.
We know who they are. It's you. Nah.
Yeah, that they have, just taken on the responsibility of curating a culture.
And for what cause, though? You know what I mean? Like the analogy is very, very true. How can you bottle lightning? How can you?
And for what cause? That's I guess like.
But how can
tourism.
you? What would happen if you did? Hypothetically, you would get nothing because you can't bottle lightning. You're essentially presenting a jar of air. You're presenting something that isn't there. Like, you can capture lightning in a bottle for sure, like as a metaphor. But like, when you think about like how that actually looks, it doesn't I can't actually see that being presented as anything. You're presenting something that maybe was there once upon a time, but if you're allowing something if you're presenting something that actually grows and adapts, that's why Hosier Lane has turned to shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they live off this, like, oh, this is the street art destination in the city. Come here. But, like, every time you go there, it's just fucking, it looks like shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, why wouldn't you just make Melbourne the street art capital of Australia? Why wouldn't you just make that every laneway in the city? Then you would remove like, this is the conversations I have in academia and that. There is $1 million graffiti mitigation budgets for most metropolitan councils. $1 million retainer. So that means if someone doesn't hit that criteria, they're going to do what they need to make sure that they get that $1 million every year. $1 million is not a made up number. This is something I've spoken to in my research, like with public arts officers, graffiti mitigation, and placemaking and image making teams. Like, we've always arrived around this figure. Who's removing the graph, right? The people that are removing graph are just using chemicals. They're using like whatever to spray it down the oceans, spray it down the drains. But then you're saying that you're removing the state of experience of a community. You're removing the voice of the community by saying that my grey wall looks better than that tag or that graph or that piece or that anything, right?
And you're also deciding what stays and what goes.
Yeah, you're gatekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
You're gatekeeping for the fact of just of status quo by saying, like, this is a historical building. It's not. Like, just Australia is one of the largest illegal settlements in the world. Like, you're just gatekeeping a fucking building because you're saying that we can't have a voice. We can't, like, most people living in this world are visual communicators. Like, we all type with emojis and GIFs. Mm-hmm. Why would that not translate into art? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, to reference from an Indigenous lens, like, Aboriginal people, First Nations people, the world's first public artists. We've been telling our stories publicly on walls, engraving with paint or engraving or with ochre, like the world's first public artist. So that's a 60,000 year history of telling our stories in public. Now, if you bring that forward 60,000 years, obviously 240 years past Cook and that, we have the age of incarceration being between like 10 and 14. I can't remember the exact statistic, but the fucking kids being locked up. The prime target for police is always Aboriginal boys or young boys. The people that predominantly do graffiti are boys aged between 14 and 20. So you can imagine that the target for cops and everything is to incarcerate young non-Anglo boys. And like, what does that do for a culture? You're removing the expressiveness of this like entire fucking block of people, and then they grow up in this like culture and society that makes it okay to remove voices with censorship and buffing, and saying that the men can't have opinions, men can't have expressions, men can't like do this, do that, or like, I'm using men as a generality because like that's just kind of the point that I just made. But we can't, like, as a people, we can't express ourselves publicly. We can't write our names, write our stories on walls in public in this brutalist concrete jungle. And it's policed by people who don't know a thing about art, who don't know a thing about like art psychology or like community psychology or anything like that. And so now we're faced with like a form of graffiti which we can't even talk about, which is censorship and buffing. So some of the things I talk about in lectures and that is there are 4 reasons, and there's a hidden fifth, but there is 4 reasons why people do graffiti, right? The first reason is to have ubiquity and ego. So that is talking about like, I want my name in lights. I want to be famous. I want to have, I want to be everywhere.
Notoriety,
yeah. And to lean on a trope, like I want to be all city, right? I want to have my name on every sidewalk. I want to have my name on every train, everything like that. So ubiquity and ego is one of the reasons. These are just made up titles. So I like giving all things titles. Another one's called the expression of state, which I've already mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't necessarily need to be a single person. That could be a voice of a community. That could be saying something as simple as like Free Palestine or I Can't Breathe or Black Lives Matter, or like you don't need to be a graffiti artist to put that out there in the world. You can scratch that in with a rock. You know what I mean? So that's still police. That's still a form of graffiti. You have vandalism and just like people just wanting to see the world burn, which is like just general like destruction of things for the sake of just having an outlet, just going like fuck this, fuck that. And sometimes it's probably just methods, just like with a mop or like with a can of silver chrome paint that they've been inhaling for the last half an hour and going like, oh, I've got a little bit left of this can. And the beautification of spaces. So to say like, oh, this, I don't like the look of this, therefore this doesn't belong. So the equal to that would be seeing like a swastika or seeing like anything that's kind of hateful or like charged, right? And you go, I'm going to put something on top of that because I think this is better. And you can turn that swastika into a beautiful flower or butterfly, and therefore that swastika is now gone. But what we have in place is a beautiful butterfly, and that's chill. Everyone's happy with a butterfly. The counter side to that very last point is how councils operate. They say, I think this doesn't belong. I think what I'm going to put there is better. And most of the time, it's just like a fresh slate of grey paint.
Grey. Yeah.
So you think about that, removing the messaging that moves the expression of people or community, regardless if it's hateful or not. But you're like, do you understand? So it's removing of the voice. So to have councils and these $1 million graffiti mitigation teams in charge of who gets to say something or what is said, you're removing the emotion of a community. You're removing the voice of the community by either fear-mongering people saying, if you put something up here, I'll just buffer over it in a week, or I'll clean off it in a week, or less. Versus like having a place like Hosier Lane, you go, oh, we can just go put whatever we want down there. Like it might go in a day or two, but like at least I get to have my message there. Imagine if that was like all crafted throughout the streets. Like you would probably remove the need for graffiti mitigation. You'd probably stop spending so much money on all of that. But imagine if that power equally, that $1 million retainer was put into like betterment of artists, empowering artists, putting like curating more walls, like with more creative freedom, and not just saying like, here is a location. We're going to say, here is funding to express yourselves and revitalize Melbourne as like the capital of street art in Australia. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Big words, big conversation, but like,
yeah. There's a lot there to unpack.
So much to unpack. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know.
I charged at you with that one. I was like, get me ready.
Fuck, man. 4 points.
I can go back on any of them.
All right. First one is a notoriety. I get that. They all cross over as well.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're necessarily seen in silos.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the first one, the notoriety, I think that crosses over.
The 4 reasons. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, right.
Yeah, so let's say with the first one. They all cross over.
They do.
Not necessarily all together, but I don't think there is necessarily one without there's not one without the involvement of at least one other.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, the notoriety,
yeah,
that does bridge over to the fourth one. What's the fourth one?
The fourth one is like the beautification of a space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the notoriety is intentional for number 3, which is just damaging property.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Sometimes that is often they come hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right. So like that doesn't speak on behalf of the community though.
The ubiquity and ego. No, the ubiquity and ego, the notoriety is definitely self-driven.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is that like, but leaving something up isn't representative of the community. No.
But the community should be allowed to police that themselves. The community should have the agency, should have the power to be able to go, let's either say that we like this or say that we don't.
And then what? Clean it up themselves?
Not clean it up, just add on to it or evolve it, or grow it. And like I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know,
man. Like if I do agree. And like I'm always, I don't want to say always, but I'm generally for the artists in most cases. But then because it's such a spectrum with where it can go, like if someone like for example in this space here, I don't own this building, but let's just say in this building, and if someone was to throw up a fucking bird on the side of the wall, I'd be like, I'd rather that bird not be there.
True?
Yeah.
Really? Why?
I don't think it's a nice looking bird.
With the bird one. Yeah, but I mean, it's not for everyone to like though. That's part of it, and that's fair. You're allowed to feel like that, but I'm also allowed to ask why. And I have this comparison. Like I owned an apartment last year in Brunswick, and it kept getting tagged. And as probably the only graffiti artist, I wasn't doing it, but as the only graffiti artist in the building, I was asking the people, like, I understand that you don't like it, but why do you need to remove it?
Because I don't like it.
But it's going to keep coming back.
Oh, well, yeah, then that's a different conversation.
There's the broken window theory, obviously.
Yeah.
That you leave it broken, it'll just keep breaking. Like, I understand that. But, like, it's a good prompt to ask someone. Like,
so do you think that, given that case then, that it's okay, that you would rather let artists go rampant rather than having it curated?
no, I think there's room for curation. There's definitely room for curation and like an allocation of space for sure. But limiting that space and then like censoring other spaces, it's just kind of counterproductive.
I don't know, man. I mean, I again, I'm not disagreeing. I just think there's nuance in it.
For sure,
And there's gray areas. Because like the whole, just to use Pan the Bird as an example, because
of course.
it's just an easy one.
Yeah.
It's notoriety to the fullest, right?
Yes.
Like it's not, there's no
voice of the community in there.
it's not profiting, it's nothing, it's just
No.
it's like the Joker, right? It's just
Yeah.
wanting just to leave a mark everywhere. And I think that the biggest part of it is trying to find spaces where like, wow, that's impressive. And I've definitely seen some places like, damn man, how did you manage that?
Yeah, me too.
And I think that is the point
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Right. But then sometimes it's just like, dude, if that was my building, I'd be firstly impressed, but also kind of pissed off.
Yeah.
And I would rather that not be there.
Yeah, of course. But like I said, there's room for that prompt though, because like I said, I personally wouldn't really want my building, my apartment building that I owned back in last year. I wouldn't want that being a graffiti hotspot. But living in Brunswick, like, it made sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like having an
Half of the course. Like you live it in Brunswick, man.
Yeah,
So
that's what I mean.
Yeah, when you're going around, it's like around Collingwood in the evening, and just there'll be someone just throwing up a tag. It's like, well, what do you think? What do you expect?
Do they sell that gentrification to the elitists that are now
Rallying against it.
they sell that that commodification of graffiti to the people that have enough money to buy these luxury apartments in Collingwood. Dude, back in the day, Collingwood was like graffiti hotspot because of the low economic status. But now that's changed, so they profit off graffiti being like, hey, this is the art hub of Melbourne. Like, sure it is, but you're also going to complain about people tagging in the front of your building. Like, you bought into this.
Yeah.
Like, you moved here because it's like this suburb is alive.
They want it on their terms.
100%, yeah, but the suburb is alive. That suburb has a voice. That suburb has growth, you know? And if they're saying, like, you can paint up there, but leave this. It's probably a bad generality, but, like, leave this. And it's like, well, you've moved into this suburb knowing that graffiti is present.
What's the fifth unspoken one?
Yeah, the fifth one is the counter side of the counter side of the polishing a turd, the erasure of like something charged or something, so covering something with something nicer. So the fifth is the counter side of that, which is the council saying that we agree with the fourth, but the silent fifth one is us buffing and removing that expression. And so to take it out of Melbourne, you can imagine like an occupied country or place, for example, like Palestine, right? We'll use Palestine as an example. It's in the media. I'm sure you'll get the algorithm right with it. And you can imagine, and I'm not going to speak bad about anything because I don't want anything to happen, but it is what it is. I think everyone can see through it. But imagine that being in that occupied country like Palestine, someone was to write "Free Palestine" on one of the walls that had been blown up with a drone, and all that's left of the wall is crumbs, but there's still a fraction of a wall, and someone's like, "Free Palestine." You can imagine the people, the Israeli occupation, that have come and go like, "Nah, actually, no." And even though they're in that place, they go, "No." And then they buff it out or they cover it up. Mm-hmm. That's obviously a far comparison, but the ideology is the same, that we're removing the voice of that community with something that they think is better, which is either removing it completely or just putting a black box over it and saying that that what's underneath this black box doesn't exist.
Where I think it's different is that because that one is to the nth degree.
Yeah, of course.
And it will definitely be removing the voice of a community.
Of course.
Yeah, not to say that that particular opinion is controversial, but if it was to be something that doesn't represent the community, because like the community, like this is one of the things. Like community is a tough word because, especially the Melbourne community, because we are a melting pot of different people, different backgrounds, different opinions, different cultural values, all of that. So anything that goes up isn't necessarily representative of anyone other than just the person putting it up.
Until the community, and I say community the same way you're using community, until someone, the audience, the observers, the people in that sphere, the bubble, walking past it, seeing it online, whatever, the community sees it there and decides on its own, and that community could be represented as someone going like, I don't agree, rip that off. But that still acts as the community. The audience is the community.
Yeah, but it's not as simple as just ripping it off, because you're putting something up, an opinion that is there to be permanent.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And it's not as
or
simple,
to be seen.
Or to be seen, but to be both. Right? But it's not as simple as just to, if you don't like it, then remove it. Because that's what the council have done. And now that's being deemed as gatekeeping.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that like, there is no right or wrong approach to this.
Yeah.
But I think that like street art in particular, it all originated from all those points that you made. But I think that the notoriety is a big part. The whole defacing something is a big part of it. And I don't think that if you take those two out of the equation, there's no need for it. Like it just would not exist. It wouldn't be where it is now if not for the notoriety and the defacing of public property. Because you could spray paint anywhere else, but the fact that it is in a public space, on a public wall, is part of the point. So I don't think it necessarily speaks on behalf of the community. I think it just speaks on behalf of the artist that's putting it up.
Of course. Yeah, no. And yeah, it does. Whoever has the agency in that moment to be able to express themselves. And like I said, maybe it's a strong opinion, maybe it's an informed opinion. The person installing that, whether it's like someone that's non-artistic or just has agency enough to go like Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah.
These are the easy things that someone could write. There is 100% going to be someone that disagrees with that, right? It is what it is. And it's how much agency that community who saw that original message and goes like, actually, no, we do think Black Lives Matter. We're going to defend this by either reinstalling it every time it gets removed, or we're going to make sure that is ever present and ubiquitous by putting it louder places and more locations. Like,
but I think like putting it up is far easier than taking it down.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so it's not a balanced act. Like, censoring something. When I say censoring, it's not like the powers that be. It's like if you have an opinion, and this is what we're doing now, debating it. No, you have an opinion, you put it up on the wall, and it'll take you 2 seconds, but it'll take me like 2 hours to remove it. So that's not one for one.
But then you start having a look at it, having a different perspective, being like, should we remove it or should we grow with it? Could we adapt to it? Could we say like, yeah, sure, this is actually our intention. This is what we believe in. Are we going to support it or deny it? And that is left up to the people who have agency to remove it or whatever. But from like a larger scale, whether it's like an occupation, a settlement, or like a council worker saying, or a council contractor saying like, this is I have the agency to remove this because I think this doesn't belong.
Yeah, and they're not actually doing anything about it. They're just throwing taxpayers' money to someone else to actually remove it.
Of course, yeah.
That's what I mean by like, there's low barriers to putting it up, and then for them it's low barriers to removing as well because they're not actually doing the hard work.
Yeah, it's a battle, and I think it's a whole thing. But like ultimately, when I came up with those 4 silent 5 things, I was definitely looking at the things with the lens of graffiti, and just kind of creating categories where people can understand that there is more dimensions to a graffiti artist or a graffiti writer than just saying, I see that tag, I don't like it. Because that's a lot of the conversations I have when I'm in spaces that don't work with graffiti artists or don't see graffiti. It's just generally the surface level conversations being like, I love street art. I love graffiti, but I don't like the tags. I'm like, well, you actually can't have both. Sorry, I'm sorry. You can't. Yeah, you can't have.
Yeah, you got to take one
You,
with
yeah,
you.
you, yeah, you have to have both. So that's what I meant to say. Like you can't have like this and then say that this doesn't exist without it. If I didn't hang out of trains and write my name on moving trains or like, or if I didn't, jump fences at night to go painting on trains and stuff like, then I'm removing my voice. That's such a deep thing to explore, to be honest. But like I say that like that's my apprenticeship. Like that's my entry level into everything I'm able to do now. And if I'm able to bridge the gap and say like there is more depth to someone writing their name or writing a message on a wall, that's kind of all I try and do. I just try and like bridge the gap a little bit more with things like that to say like there is compassion that's needed. There is also, as I mentioned before, there's probably only 14 to 21-year-old boys doing this. So like, what's that state of experience like at home? Like for me, when I did graph, I was sneaking out, and I was like, my home life was turbulent. It was like abusive, and I needed a place to leave. And graffiti was my salvation. And like I took out my frustration on public places, public walls. There's a lot you can say about what I did, but at the same time, like the compassion that is needed to look at someone that is going through shit like that is much needed. Like to say like there is a deeper level to graffiti and street art than someone just wanting to destroy something.
Man, it's all metaphor. It's like there's so much. It's layered, and it is. And I've given this a lot of thought as well, especially as I suppose like someone that's raising two young boys. Have thought about how the creative part works into the cultural component and how we're raising them up, and then looking at the digital space. And it's not, you just can't look at all of this in silos. Like I think there's implications everywhere you go, because once you start looking at this and it broadens out into all these other areas. But no, I see your point, man. I see that like there is something about how there is an appeal for boys at that age to do something like this. There is a rebellious slant to all of this. And that can't be disregarded. And I think that needs to be looked in a bit of more of a micro lens as to what we're doing outside of the space of creativity or street art more so, and then broaden that out to creativity. What else can we be doing to support that? But then there's a lot. We've got to find time to unpack all of that.
Oh yeah.
Then we save that for round 3.
The trilogy.
We'll go the trilogy.
The lost episodes, lost tapes.
Yeah, the lost one. So where's this PhD taking you anyway? What's the roadmap for that?
So I'm in my first year.
Who's it with?
RMIT. So I'm working on my methodology stuff at the moment to make sure that I'm actually learning how to categorize and organize things very well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a 3 to 5 year course. My field of study is it's an art-based PhD, so there'll be a body of work or an output component, as opposed to
it will be visual art.
Yeah, opposed to a thesis. So there's less emphasis on producing a thesis and more emphasis on producing something tangible, like a body of work or like a film, for example. I'm looking at film at the moment. My topic that I've chosen to undertake is decolonizing public spaces through the lens of street art, digital media, and galleries. To ultimately, the subtitle of that is to extend Black narratives. So the focus I'm doing is the focus I'm kind of at this point in time is recognizing the state of the industry and recognizing more specifically the state of Aboriginal street art and how that is how that's commercialized, how that's taken and used as gift wrapping, how like there's no actual appreciation as much as it's needed for Aboriginal art and Aboriginal street art. I've found that Aboriginal street art is monopolized by white people, and that's definitely a large portion of my study because I didn't realize how deep that rabbit hole went. And that goes as deep. It goes deeper than artists. It goes to council level, to agency level. But I've found that I've needed to dig deeper in that, and ultimately it's the state of Aboriginal street art right now, which I'm really exploring. And yeah, like I said, realizing that the power has been removed from Aboriginal street artists, First Nations street artists. Ultimately, like I said to you earlier, like we're the oldest public artists. Why would we need our hands held for anything? Or why do we need anyone telling our stories other than us? Whether that's like telling our Dreamtime stories on big walls, like the amount of times I've heard people say, and curators and producers and stuff say like, oh, like we know people that can do the art, but we don't know anyone that we can trust, or we don't know anyone that has the capacity to install it. You could also just fucking teach people, or like give people certifications, like lift licenses and stuff, like they've done to me and many other people. Like, not that hard. Then you also look at like portraiture, like who's painting Aboriginal street art, who's painting Aboriginal people, and who's like monopolizing the industry, and who is profiting off of black culture. We don't have treaty, so the conversation of stolen wealth is a very real conversation that's involved. So it's about addressing the state of it, which, as I mentioned, it's the term. Actually, I haven't mentioned the term which I found is called Aboriginalia. So it's the tokenizing, the producing of Aboriginal art for the sake of like materialism, or for tourism, or for tokenism. Ultimately, a good way to look at it right now is there was I don't know how much I want to give a title is that, but like there was an NRL team that decided to not do Welcome to Country. They cancelled the Welcome to Country. They pissed off a local mob, and who did all of their Welcome to Countries, and at the same time they've now put out Aboriginal jerseys for our Indigenous round. So you're like, why did you make that jersey when one of your principals of the business, wherever they sit on the business, it donates to companies like Advance Australia, which is racially motivated political groups that have no room for Aboriginal people. So I'm finding this is very real conversations I'm having in public art, and it's the disregarding of Aboriginal people for the sake of producing Aboriginal art. Like, and I think that a lot of people producing this art, whether it's like from the producer level or the artist level, actually don't care. Like, they're just happy to get a paycheck, or they're happy to see like beautiful designs on beautiful things. Like, if you look at like a Cadbury's box of chocolates, I use Cadbury as an example because I haven't seen them do it. I'm just using it as an example. But like, if you see a Cadbury's box of chocolates and they've got like traditional Aboriginal art on it, you would want to know where that art came from, who did that art, and if you know much about Aboriginal art, what that story says, whose story that is, what the symbolisms are, what the motifs are, what the design motifs are, and how they've arrived at this image. Have they cropped a portion of a larger map to just produce this like beautiful little circles and dots and squares and stuff, just so they can have wrapping paper for their chocolates? You know what I mean? So that, imagine that on a on a larger level, being like, there's Aboriginal people painted on silos. Who are they? What's their stories? Are they dead or alive? Who painted it? Who benefited from that? Have the community received knowledge? Have the community received skill sets? Have the community received any money from that $70,000 to $100,000 job? Who are we celebrating other than just giving someone a paycheck? So that's kind of a lot of the things I'm really looking at in my work. And I call it work because it is work. It's costing me work. It's costing me energy. It's costing me time and money and resources to dig deep and dive into these things, to interview people, to talk to councils, to talk to artists, to like be confrontational at times with other artists and other producers and agencies, to councils. Like, very costly.
This is definitely a topic that will cause friction, and I don't necessarily mean out of hostility. No. I think that is just a lot of education, and I think that a lot of people, rightfully or wrongfully, are leaning on ignorance. I know that I have been, because I just don't know any different, right? I don't know any different, don't know anything more or less. So I'm not sure whether or not that some of the people weighing in on this tokenism intentionally, other than because I think that a lot of it could be well spirited,
Of course,
but just
of course.
probably not well informed.
I love seeing Aboriginal people on my $5 notes, but I don't like on surface level. Does anyone else know who that person is? What their stories are? Like, what that art surrounding that person is? Like, what their influence in the community? Like, it's just Aboriginalia putting Aboriginal art or people on something for the sake of calling it Aboriginal art.
Well, it just comes down to education then, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There needs to be more conversation about it.
Yeah, and as you just said, I'm sure that the intentions are sometimes, and more often than not, they are there. But like, I believe that they are there, and I believe a lot of the times that the intention is beautiful to want to celebrate Aboriginal people on larger scale. Like, I personally love going down the street and seeing Aboriginal portraits. Like, I love it. It's beautiful. But then you realize the big picture. Who's not getting paid? Who's not getting work? Who's missing out on opportunities? Who's missing the skill sets? Or how much money is being taken away from mob in place of them being able to do that, you know? Then you look at it even bigger picture. Like, for example, if you pick one artist and you just say, has that artist painted anything more than Aboriginal people or Aboriginal art? And if the answer is no, then they're profiting off black culture exclusively. And sometimes you need to really call it black and white like that, because it is big picture. And like I said, I'm sure there is intention to be really commodifying and really, really beautiful about it, really like share a culture, but you're sharing a culture that's not yours. You're sharing culture that has been taken away from Aboriginal people. We've been stripped of culture. You go remote desert, the amount of mob that's been displaced and put into small towns because of mining companies, and they don't have no connection to their culture. But you know, that mining company will pay $70,000 to $100,000 for a silo of Aboriginal portraits. But they don't give a fuck about the community. They just want to see Aboriginal art. They just want to see this. And if the intention was there and the intention was true, they would give that wealth to the community and say, we will give you the skill set to paint this and make this happen. But they don't. They just say, hey, we've got this person who we know paints Aboriginal portraits. They're easy to work with. They won't be difficult. We don't have to train them. Let's just pay them a large amount of money. And then that's, you know, you get into all the things I've just said, being like, there's no sharing of skill. There's no upskilling entirely, which is the first point. There's no sharing of wealth. There's no sharing of knowledge and understanding of like how that story or that person in that portrait or their dreaming replicated on their wall. Like, who did that? Anything further than that? So like, it's integral for mob to share. Like, nothing belongs to us in a way that like we share everything. We share conversations. Conversations and sharing is the core, like the deepest core part of mob culture. And when it's stripped away, like it has been over 240 years, we're at a place where we don't have treaty, but white people still profit exclusively off Aboriginal culture. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's colonialization in contemporary form. It's saying that Aboriginal voices are not more important than someone installing them. It's a deep rabbit hole to go down.
It is. Very, very deep.
And I understand, like, these are conversations I have, like, so regularly as well, so I may or may not have skipped over parts, but it kind of covers a bit surface level, right?
Definitely, when I say definitely, it's covered a lot. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah, and I know that not everyone's going to agree with my sentiments or my statements, but in this field of research, these are things that I need to have backing and research behind me in order to put it on a public level like this.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily just disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing. It could just be not having access to the same information or not having the same conversations that you have had.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm doing here is taking this in, but not having a frame of reference.
No, of course,
right?
yeah.
So this is the starting point of like having these ideas, letting them kind of like mull away.
Mm-hmm.
There is no counterpoint to this.
And there doesn't need to be a lot of the time either.
Yeah, right. So there isn't one. It's just laying out the scope of the situation. Situation is probably kind of undercooking it.
No, but yeah.
Like it's a big situation then. But
And it's more than just art too. It obviously encompasses many areas of how white Australia censors and covers up Black history.
yeah, but I think that even just like that statement, there's a lot that needs to be looked into with that. There's a lot to unpack in all of that. And again, it's like there's nothing there that you can disagree about. It can be discussed. I don't want to say debated, but it can be conversed and dissected.
Yep.
And like you can take one component, break that down into several components, and take each one of those components and then break that down into several components as well.
Yeah.
It's a conversation that I would like to have down the track. We finish this PhD.
Yeah.
And then I want to have that conversation. I want to learn more about it. I think it's important to have a better grasp of the different components that make up Australian culture. And it's so diverse. Australian culture is a peculiar one because there is a lot of history, but then there's the layer of that history that dates back that 60,000 years. Then there's also the history that dates back 250 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's history that dates back, the immigration from the last 70, 50, 30, 10 years. And then it just becomes a big melting pot of different opinions, different values. There's just a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot in there.
I was having a chat with a lot of this about my supervisor yesterday, and part of her PhD was referencing how actually how our PhDs kind of are quite parallel. And she was showing me how there's a case study that she put in her research of an artist that had created Fijian designs for Fijian Airways. Mm-hmm. And you can go like, all right, well, these are just designs. Here's what they mean. Here's like a glossary. Like if you were to produce, if an Aboriginal artist was to produce traditional symbolisms and motifs for a corporate company, they would want to go like, hey, here's what this means. Here's how you can like celebrate my story and simulate this kind of like this map that I've drawn essentially. If Dreamtime, I'm talking more specifically about Dreamtime. And so, yeah, she was showing this case study of how this artist had produced these designs for Fijian Airways, and Fijian Airways had taken those and copyrighted them. And so they've they've copyrighted traditional symbolisms, motifs, and they got away with it, and they did it, and they produced, sarongs and like cultural items and stuff. So like the conversation of Aboriginalia applies in the Fijian lens, being like, here's a perfect case study of how that happens, and you look at that closer to home, being like, there's been mob that have designed art for Qantas, and how Qantas have probably replicated that
for sure.
And I'm saying Qantas is generality. I have no proof to actually say that actually happened. Yeah. Full disclosure. But you can see how that happens, and that's further emphasis on what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is it this like...
One point I do want to make is that going back to that notion of seeing things through a different lens is the foundation that, from my understanding, the foundation that Indigenous people they build their belief system on versus the modern day Australia. They are so different. So using that Fiji Airlines as an example, that you have this artist and you have this company, both people or both parties through their own lens didn't do anything wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
don't know.
Fiji Airlines ticked all the boxes that they were meant to tick.
We're trying to copyright traditional symbols and motifs.
The point I'm trying to make, or what I'm trying to say, is that when you're having conversations like this, it's what I'm finding really important is to try to understand that the person that's delivering the information to you has a worldview vastly different from yours, right? Like I've had
I know what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, like you know, Luke Curry Richardson?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I reached out to him because he was on the podcast, and I reached out to him because he obviously has a worldview very different from mine. And I messaged him. I said that, dude, just given your background and given your cultural background and your belief system, where I come from is that I see this country very different from yours. I don't have the connection that you do. I see this place as a place of opportunity. That's why my parents moved here when I was 4. So when I think of Australia, the first thing that comes to my mind, or the first few things, or what the essence of Australia for me is very different to the essence of Australia for you. So let's catch up. Let's have a chat. So we went out for coffee, and then we just realized that his place in life, and at the time he just got married, just got back from his honeymoon, and he was, I think, like he's like, you know, late 30s, I'm early 40s. And where he was in his stage of life was exactly where I was a few years back. And we found that there was so much commonality who we are as individuals that the cultural differences were almost irrelevant. But the whole point is that I was trying to, in that conversation, was trying to understand or trying to see through his lens. Right, rather than me trying to understand what he's saying through my lens, I was trying to see through his lens. That's the challenge with trying to get everyone on the same page, is that the lenses that we are all looking through are vastly different because we are so different in many ways, and almost to the point where one value system is going to be contradicting another value system.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was saying. I wasn't saying that either one was right or wrong. I'm saying that what they thought they were doing was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And we could disagree on whether or not we are using, you know, the same criteria, and saying that no, what they did was actually just, it was abhorrent.
Yeah.
But they're like, fucking, we did everything we were supposed to do. That was my point.
Yeah.
That was my point. But dude, there was so much to unpack, and I think that like it's given us enough to think about.
Yeah.
And
Thank
to let this stew.
Yep.
And wait till the next one.
Damn. I'm keen.
Wonder whether or not your opinion is going to change.
I mean, I would be I'd be selfish. I'd be incorrect in saying that it wouldn't have room to grow. I would hope that I have room to grow, and whether that's expanding or contracting, you know.
And the next
like,
3 to 5 years as you're doing it, things are going to change drastically as well.
Oh my God, yeah, for sure. I was different before I had my baby, like 9 months carrying my baby. You know, like I was a different man. Like I lived for different reasons. I feel like a lot of the things I'm doing now as my daughter grows and my 2 daughters on the way, I feel like a lot of what I'm doing is now growing as a father, but also there's a decrease in my drive for ego and my drive to have the best bucket list life ever. My life feels now has different purpose. My life feels like I'm dedicated towards creating beautiful memories for my daughters. Like that's ultimately what I do. And so like that obviously encompasses seeing their dad being able to speak freely and authentically, unapologetically, but also compassionately as well, with to speak from the heart rather than to speak from my wallet. And I would much rather instill those traits on my daughters than saying like, here is how to get rich quick.
Yeah.
I would much rather say like, no, if you get picked on at school, punch them back in the nose, because that's where it's going to hurt the most. Do you know what I mean? So that's the angle I look at. It's like
the nose. Don't know.
I mean, depends if it's a boy or a girl. Like,
I don't think it does, man.
You kick them where it hurts.
Yeah.
So like, I'd rather instill like beautiful like memories for my kids rather than like at the moment at this point in my life. That's what I'm saying. So I'm growing more than I have. Like my daughter's turning 3 this year. Like I am different from the man I was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And with 2 more girls on the way, I would say that I am going to grow a lot more in the next 3 years. So whether that's expanding or contracting, I am a free agent. I'm allowing myself to be, to grow wherever I want. I feel like there's a good analogy for the way I live my life, and it's almost why we called it honey bones as well. And I'm not a scientist, but I like to think this is real. That the bumblebee obviously is too big to suggest that it can fly. The wings are too small, the body is too big, but somehow it's allowing itself to fly. Through many things that I've read, whether it's on like TikTok or or whatever, that bumblebees flap their wings to imitate other insects and birds, and as they're flapping their wings, they create vibrational resonancy throughout and create essentially like a electromagnetic bubble around them, because electromagnetics are a brand new field of study for science. And so that because they're flapping their wings to imitate, they're creating this vibrational resonancy. This electromagnetic bubble counteracts with the physics that we understand with gravity. So this bumblebee has free agency to go wherever it wants to go in the world, and it doesn't have to live by the laws of physics that we think it lives by, which is flapping the wings. Off we go. The flapping their wings actually creates this resonancy bubble around themselves, so they can go wherever the fuck they want to go, suggesting that bumblebees are too big to fly. They don't fly, they levitate. That's where I live my life. I'm a bumblebee, I levitate, according to TikTok.
Just right. That's a great place to leave this, man.
My man, thank you so much.
Thanks,
I appreciate
dude.
getting me on. Ooh,
Hey, man.
that was a good
That was a
click.
good one. Fuck, that was a big one.